Morning!
Madman!
Welcome to the India Explained podcast, recorded in London and San Francisco. One take, unscripted, no rehearsal. Hey Bunty, what's up?
All okay, Rohit. Just getting ready and in the middle of a long weekend, so everything's that needs to be organized at home is getting organized. Just a usual domestic thing. How are things with you?
Oh, very good. Just, hanging around. Long weekend here, Memorial Day, to commemorate World War II and all of that. Now, speaking of armies, the Indian army is in the news. I'm sure that you heard about a major gentleman, Assamese gentleman called Gogoi, who some time ago tied a man to a jeep, and we did an episode on that, right?
Yeah, we did an
So,
episode called Front of Jeep,
front of jeep,
which
right?
was episode 7, I think.
So,
Yeah.
long story short, debate rages on, etc., etc. The guy has been commended by the army chief Bipin Rawat, and the army chief himself is some guy apparently who was sort of kicked ahead of the queue, and he superseded someone else who was meant to be the army chief. Now, he's made a series of remarks about we have to fight a dirty war in Kashmir in innovative ways and so on. This is from a Times of India article, which was published or updated on May 28th, 2017. So just this morning. And he has stoutly defended the use of a Kashmiri as a human shield. In the course of the article, he makes this very peculiar remark where he says that, uh, you know, uh, it an army should inspire fear in its own people as well, not just adversaries. So adversaries must be afraid of you, and at the same time, your people must be afraid of you. So I'm just wondering what your thoughts are about this, because this really flies in the face of, India's doctrine of the military being under civilian control.
I know. I think we are picking up on this article. It's in Times of India, and I think my first comment on this is we have not, unlike our neighbors in the region, have had a military that stepped into the politics of the nation. Right,
Right.
the military has been separate. We are not going to comment on the correctness or incorrectness of the Jeep thing. We've made our views clear on that episode, and if listeners want to listen to that, they can do that. I think fear of the army and fear of the army amongst its own citizens is a very, very new kind of angle. I've never heard it before. One of the things that we've picked up in media is that the increasing Talibanization of India, right?
Right.
So India's civil life or public discourse up until 10 years ago was, it was not perfect, but it was very civil.
Hmm.
Now, I think our public discourse has fragmented. So there are a bunch of people who are saying that it doesn't need to be civil. There is only one right, and that right is the one that we are championing. And the other side is equally misguided by not holding up a good counter position. Right. So that's how I see kind of the national debate splitting up. And in the middle of this, you've got this army and in this general stepping in and saying that I need to take on the role of an enforcer and have my own people be afraid of me. And the logical point that he uses upfront is periodically the army is tapped into to maintain law and order,
Hmm.
to do a policing function. And if I have to do that, one of the things that I have to do is ensure that people are scared
Hmm.
when the army walks into town. My question is that then are we progressively giving the army, the Indian army, the center stage in national politics, which is not, are we becoming gradually like a Turkey? We are
Hmm.
probably four, 5 steps away from a Pakistan, but are we gradually slipping into a Turkey-like comfort zone where the president and the army share a very close relationship, or the political and the army
Right.
share a very close relationship? Or are we saying that somebody puts this chap back into his box, saying that you are one of three service chiefs. You are sometimes called to do policing functions over and above what the normal CRPF and the Indo-Tibetan Border Force police do, or the normal local police do. There are several grades of policing options available in India. The army is the last resort, and it remains a last resort because you know, and that's the way we treat it. So I have friends in the army. I don't regard the army, I'm not scared of the army, I support the army. There's a difference. I
Right,
feel I feel that the army is doing the best it can for us,
right,
but and that us word is very important, you know. The army is not telling me what to do. The
right.
army is there to protect us because we have a democratic system. So that us thing is very, so so that's the only thing that I'm scared of, by this guy not being put into his box, because he's
Right.
kind of slightly overstating his hand.
Oh, completely. And I think there's, the fact that what we are seeing, and this actually predates Rawat himself. I think starting with the Times of India when Arnab was there were some people like this guy called General Bakshi or Major General Bakshi. Is just a rabid jingoist who would appear on television, scream against human rights activists and so on and so forth. Just, I think, someone who's pretty much a has-been looking for publicity. That to me started the politicization of the armed forces. Now, of course, the army is a large community of people, and there are going to be people with diverse views there. But in general, there was some kind of understanding about the army staying above politics, and the army, whatever the views of individuals were, in a culture that came down from the top, respecting the principle of Nehruvian secularism. And I think
Uh,
one of the things the Modi government has done very strategically is to realize that there are people who are rabid communalists in the army, who are hardliners, who care a hoot for human rights. And I'm not suggesting that the Indian Army didn't commit human rights violations earlier, but the Modi government realized that they would have a bunch of people who'd be sympathetic to them. And all the scenarios you raised, I think any of them is a possibility at this point of time. I don't want to be alarmist, but whether it does seem like there has been a Talibanization of Indian society. There does seem that in some ways we are, seeing the same thing happening in India that's happening in other strong man-led cultures like Turkey or Russia and so on. Um, and in the past as well, I think in the aftermath of independence, perhaps it was General Cariappa who, had made some noises about the army being given like a greater say in managing India's democracy. Nehru promptly packed him off to Australia as the ambassador or the high commissioner there, right? And effectively defanged him. Now, there was another remark someone made on, I think it's actually an ambassador, former ambassador, Ambassador KC Singh. He said that had any other chief made this remark under either Indira Gandhi or even Vajpayee, who's from the BJP, he would have either been asked to apologize or he would have been sacked. But Modi is going to maintain his strategic silence. That's my guess.
I think there's one sliver of hope in all of this, which is that if this is an old story about the three services. If you asked an Air Force man to jump, he'll say, "I don't jump, I can fly." If you ask a Navy man to jump, he'll say, "I don't jump, I swim."
Right,
If you ask an army man to jump, he'll say, "How high?"
right,
So the in terms of the three services, how they line up, if an Air Force Air Marshal, Air Chief Marshal was saying this, I would be very worried, because he's probably one of the people in the of the three armed service wings. The Air Force draws the most intelligent and capable people. So if somebody has to kind of meddle with democracy,
right,
the and assume in a size the size of the country that we are, it needs a certain amount of coordination and skills and baseline intelligence more than organization.
right,
I would be worried if an Air Force or a Navy man called this out, because it's basically the armies are pehlwans, right?
right, right,
So you just have to point them in a direction and ask them to take down things, and they are good at that.
right.
But I think for somebody like him to coordinate something more evolved, I don't want to be disrespectful to the general of the army, but by saying what he has done, he's kind of brought a particular wing of the services into sharp focus. And I just think that he should be put in his box. And I'd be more scared if people in the Air Force and the Navy thought like this, because they are the more intelligent people.
Right. That's it's an interesting remark, and I think the basis of uh, uh, a podcast of its own. As the saying goes, military intelligence is a contradiction in terms, and perhaps that applies more
Correct.
to the army.
Correct.
All right. So on that note, I think let's wrap this up. So okay, Bunty, I'll catch up again with you soon, and we'll be back with some stories of topical interest. Take care, man.
Chalo, take care.
Bye.